What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my final thoughts ahead of the Gameweek 6 deadline. We're going to go through some of the key issues and quotes and stuff that have come up from today's press conferences. Before we jump into that, I wanted to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Fantasy Football Scout, who can help you be better at FPL. If you want to sign up to become a premium member, which I would recommend, there is a link in the description below. They still haven't put the price up. I don't know if or when that's going to happen, but right now, if you pay annually, it's as little as £2.49 a month, and obviously that is billed annually. There is a monthly payment as well if you want to do that, and there is a whole host of tools in their members area which you can see on the side here. Not going to go through every single one, but the one I wanted to show you today is the Rate My Team tool. So you can put your FPL ID in here. It tells you how to get that. That will then bring up your team and show you how it's looking for the next few weeks. And you can show more weeks if you want or less weeks, how many points you're going to get. It's also helpful if you're unsure about benching options. It will literally say this player should be on bench 1, this player should be on bench 2, and captaincy as well. Interestingly, the tool tells me to captain Salah. We'll come on to that in just a minute. And if there's a transfer you want to make, let's say it's Cucurella to Trippier, and I know a lot of people are looking to bring Trippier in this week, it will show you at the bottom how many points you're going to gain or lose in every single week, then obviously a total at the end to show you whether that's a good move. So it's very handy if you're unsure about a specific move. Obviously some of them are obvious, you don't need a tool for that, but some of them it's not quite so clear. So if you want to check out Fantasy Football Scout, all those other great tools, fixture tickers, comparison tools, loads of stats as well, link in the description below. Get signed up today. All right, let's have one last look at Erling Haaland Captain before tomorrow's deadline. A lot of excitement in the community this afternoon because Pep Guardiola had his press conference, and this is what he said when he was asked about managing Haaland's game time. He said he's 22 and recovers well. When he's 32, it's more difficult. When he's 22, it's not a problem. And he's made me look like an idiot, right? A few weeks ago, he says when there's games every 3 days, he will not play. Everyone in the comment section, he's 22. What are you on about? You're an idiot. And I'm like, no, this is what he said. You've got to take him at his word. Then he comes out and basically says exactly the same thing. So I now think there's a pretty good chance that he's going to start against Aston Villa. I was already kind of hopeful, but still not going to captain him. But now Pep said this, it's really making me think that he will. I guess likewise, when he said he was definitely not going to start, people were sure that he would. Now he said this, a lot of people think, well, that's just Pep being Pep and he'll probably bench him. So it's still not 100% guaranteed, but I think we have to take him on his word. And this looks pretty good. They have been managing him with substitutions, as we talked about a lot. So I would not be surprised to see him play 60, 65 minutes and then get brought off, ready for the Champions League, ready for that Spurs game in Game Week 7 as well. So as it stands, I have switched the captaincy from Salah to Haaland, but I've got to be honest, I'm still not 100% sure about it, right? I don't know. It's on it now, but I might switch back to Salah. I can't get out of my head that Salah is very rarely a differential. He's got as good a fixture, if not slightly better. I know Aston Villa are not looking good right now, but I don't know if Everton away is necessarily that much more difficult for Liverpool. I would definitely agree that Man City look like a better attacking side right now, but Liverpool have still scored plenty of goals. I know a lot of them obviously came against Bournemouth, but I feel like they've done all right. The rest of the community, when I polled them today through a Google survey, there is definitely a clear indication that people are going to go for Haaland again. There's still quite a few people on Salah though. I don't think that's as big as a gap as I was expecting. A few people on Kane. I've got to say, if you're going for Harry Kane, I really hope it works out for you because it must be pretty scary not to have Haaland. Some of you might have Kane and Haaland, but for most people it's one or the other. And I think it's a good fixture against Fulham at home. And if I had Kane, I would be tempted to keep him for this week and then maybe look at Haaland next week. But you've got to be pretty brave to go through that and maybe just not look at all the results this week. But as it stands right now, a lot of people going for Haaland. I suspect a lot of people will have switched after the quotes as well. And this is my team as it stands. So I've not made any moves. And Haaland is my captain. The only thing that I can't get out of my head is, right, everyone is so sure now that he's absolutely the most essential captain. We're never going to captain anyone else. He's permanent captain. It's very easy to be sure about that after back-to-back hat-tricks. When was why was no one saying this after Bournemouth at home and Newcastle away? I mean, Bournemouth at home was a really good fixture. Why were we not thinking of him being permanent captain after that? Well, the thing was, he didn't score. Now he scored back-to-back hat-tricks. It's very easy to be that sure about about captaincy. All it takes is for Haaland to blank this week, Salah to get 2 goals, and suddenly everyone changes their mind next week. And I'm not saying you should ignore the fact that he's got back-to-back hat-tricks and looks absolutely brilliant. He's a great captain this week, but we are being swayed by that. Nobody wanted to permanent captain him after Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, when he only got 1 goal. And some people have tried telling me, well, things have changed. Nothing's changed. That's just football, right? He's a great player. Man City are a great team. They're going to score loads of goals, as they have done. They scored 7 goals in game weeks 2 and 3. He just happened to only get 1 goal. That will happen. He's not going to score. You don't need me to tell you this, I hope. He's not going to score hat-tricks every single game. At some point, he will blank. At some point, he will get rotated. And at some point, he will come off the bench and not get anything. But right now, it does look like a pretty good week to captain him. Aston Villa are in a little bit of trouble, I would say, under massive pressure. It does look like a pretty good fixture. And I think as a functioning attacking team, Man City probably look better. The only thing I'm cautious about is, am I right in my own narratives because I want to captain Haaland? Because at the end of the day, you look at the expected goal numbers for Liverpool, they're still in the top 3. You look at the expected goals, expected assist numbers for Salah, they're very similar to last year. Yes, Haaland's are kind of monstrous and almost scary, and I've no doubt he's going to do well, but he probably is going to be managed in terms of coming off early. Salah's going to be on that pitch till 90 minutes. I think it just depends how you think those games are going to go. I just worry a little bit, and again, maybe I'm creating a narrative just to make sure that I go for Haaland, that Derby game, Everton will make that difficult. And if that midfield and stuff at Liverpool just doesn't cope too well and they're just not looking as good going forward and all that stuff as maybe we've seen in some of the games this season, that could be a fairly low-scoring affair. I mean, they could score 2 goals and Salah could get both of them and he could outscore Haaland for sure. I'm just a little bit worried about it. And as I said in team selection earlier, I was looking for a reason to change the captaincy, and maybe this is it. And last thing on it, part of the reason I want to captain Haaland, I'm not ashamed to say it, is I know he's going to be absolutely heavily captained, the most popular pick this week. And if I go for him, I can't really be massively punished by doing that. Of course, if Salah outscores him, I'll be a bit annoyed that I didn't go for him, but I'm still going to gain points from that happening and from the rest of my team. And ultimately, I can probably just enjoy my weekend a little bit more. So there is a little bit of that thinking in the back of my head, but I'm not completely against switching it back to Salah because it's not often you get him as a differential. So let me know down in the comments below, are you going for Haaland or are any of you brave enough to go elsewhere? So a lot of people are potentially looking to sell Perisic this week. From what I could see, there hasn't really been any new quotes this week from Conte. He spoke about a bit of stuff in his press conference, nothing really around Perisic. We know from what he said previously, he is expecting to rotate during the midweek games. But then again, Pep Guardiola said something similar. But I think with Perisic, the fact that he played 90 in that West Ham game, I would be pretty worried about a start. So if I was in a position where I had Perisic, and definitely with 2 free transfers, maybe a little bit less so with 1, but I'd still definitely be tempted to do Perisic to Reece James, and we'll come on to Reece James a little bit later. So I think if I had Perisic, I wouldn't be necessarily going out of my way to sell him, but I would be quite keen to do it, because if he misses that Fulham game, then he runs straight into Man City away, and I think we can all agree that Man City will probably score in that game, so Perisic would have to do something special to come away with a big haul. It's not completely out of the question, but I just don't think that will happen. Then Leicester at home is pretty good, so if you are wildcarding in game week 9, and you've got a decent bench, and you can bench Perisic this week, like I've seen some people worried about benching him for Nico Williams. I think if I had Nico Williams, I'd be okay with playing him this week against Bournemouth at home. His attacking numbers have been pretty good. Yes, he plays for a bad defence, but Bournemouth at home is a pretty good fixture. So if you could maybe even not play Perisic this week or next week and then have him for Leicester at home, it's not necessarily too bad, but it is quite a bit of money sat on your bench for the next 2 weeks. So my main thing for him would probably be to sell if you think he's going to miss Fulham, which I think there is a good chance of happening. I asked the community, most people said to keep and play him, right? I guess because it's Fulham at home, if he does play, you don't want to miss it. Hopefully we'll get some predicted lineups ahead of the deadline. If we do, I'll definitely speak about that. So make sure you're tuning in for the deadline stream tomorrow. Few people said keep and bench, but I think most people are saying sell. I think that's kind of right. Either you keep him and play him because you think he's going to start, or you sell him because Fulham at home is just such a good fixture to miss. And if he ain't going to play, he's no good, even with a cameo off the bench, and then it's Man City away. So I'd probably be in the selling camp, I think. There's still quite a few people in the market for a £5 million defender. And of course, if you're going to sell Perisic and you can't afford or don't want to go to someone like Reece James, then this is probably a similar market that you're looking at. These are probably the top options that I would say. It's very clear who people think is the best option, and that is Trippier. For what it's worth, I do think he's also a very good option from Game Week 6, and I have looked at him myself myself. I do wonder if it might be slightly better, especially if you're going to go for 2 defender transfers over the next couple of weeks, to get a Brighton defender first and then get Trippier later. So if we look at the fixtures, so Brighton this week have Leicester at home, then it's Bournemouth away, then it's Crystal Palace at home. And if you look at Newcastle's fixtures, they also have Crystal Palace at home. So both Brighton and Newcastle play them. So the 2 different fixtures over the next 3 weeks are Brighton play Bournemouth away, Newcastle play Bournemouth at home. So you would argue that's slightly better for Newcastle, but that fixture's not until game week 8. And then in game week 7, it's West Ham away for Newcastle, and the other fixture for Brighton is Leicester at home this week, which I would argue right now is not that bad of a fixture. And Newcastle defence is pretty good. I would maybe have Brighton slightly ahead of them though. So if you're bringing in one of these players this week, to only bring the other one in maybe next week or game week 8. I think it's actually slightly better to go for a Brighton defender and then get Trippier later. I've actually eyed up a few transfers over the next couple of weeks, and one of them does involve getting Trippier for that Bournemouth at home game in game week 8 before the wild card. So that's something to think about. But if you're only going to go for one, absolutely no issues with just getting Trippier like everyone else is recommending. On the Brighton defenders, a lot of people had Estupinian ahead of Lewis Dunk. Obviously, he is a bit more exciting playing in that left wing-back position. He did get an assist for winning the penalty in the last game. So as long as he gets good minutes, which it looks like he probably should do over the next few weeks, I think he's a good pick. The other one to mention that I didn't put on here is Webster. Now, to be fair, like Dunk is absolutely nailed on. I don't think Webster is too far behind him in those stakes as well. So if you do get him, he should play pretty regular minutes, especially up until the wild card. And he does have a bit more goal threat. So it might actually be the case that Webster's slightly more likely to get you a goal than Dunk, although you never know with centre-backs, right? Dunk could pop up with a goal, hopefully not an own goal again, anytime. It could be Webster. There's maybe not a huge amount in it, but I think a lot of people do like Webster. Or you go for Estupinian for that kind of exciting left wing-back spot. Dunk's probably the just boring, safe pick that everyone like me has gone for, but actually there might be more exciting picks out there. With Cucurella, it's really interesting, because I've got him. I still think his minutes are pretty good. I think West Ham at home is not that bad. Fulham away is not that bad either, as long as you think the Chelsea defence is going to improve. If you don't, just don't go for him right now. There is a chance that Chilwell plays at some point, and I think given the Fofana bye that they've had, Fofana's probably going to play right centre-back, Thiago Silva in the middle, and then Koulibaly left centre-back. I don't think there's too many games where Cucurella is going to play that left centre-back role. So there might be, at some point soon, a time when Chilwell plays, but I just still don't think he's quite up to full fitness. And I think the fact that Cucurella played on Tuesday, they're not playing again until Saturday, means he probably starts again. But I would only go for him if you think that Chelsea defence can improve. They have signed a defensively minded midfielder now, and obviously Fofana's in as well, and I'm expecting him to start. So there has to be some improvement soon, and the next 2 fixtures are pretty decent. So Cucurella is still okay, but I see why people are looking at Brighton or Newcastle defence instead. And I put Gabriel on the list, but right now is not the time to be buying an Arsenal defender, in my opinion. So let's go through some of the press conference updates, which I have taken from the Fantasy Football Scout Twitter account. It's worth mentioning this part is not sponsored. It is just a very handy account to follow if you're not already. So we'll start with Liverpool. Kind of 3 different things here. We'll start off with Jota. So Klopp confirmed that Diogo Jota trained yesterday and today and will probably be in the squad for game week 6. So in terms of our attacking picks, like Luis Diaz mostly, Salah obviously is not going to be affected either way. He's going to start most games no matter who's fit. There might be some rotation later on this season. Right now I'm not concerned whatsoever. So Jota could play a part with Luis Diaz, with Nunez, with Firmino at some point soon, but he's not going to start that Game Week 6 game. He's only probably going to be in the squad. I'm not even sure he's going to be much of an issue for Game Week 7 either, because he has been out for a little while. And then by Game Week 8, they play Chelsea away. For anyone that's looking at wildcarding in Game Week 9, it might even be a good time in 7 or 8 to jump off of Luis Diaz. So I don't think Jota's really going to play a big part in terms of rotation for Nunez or Diaz over the next few weeks. But he could be an issue later on this season. We'll have to wait and see. But if you look at the fixtures I put above for Liverpool, like I said, Everton away, Wolves at home is okay. But Chelsea away is not necessarily a fixture where you want these players anyway. Obviously, if you've got Trent or Salah, you can probably keep them for that game. But I will be looking to offload Luis Diaz. And then if we're wildcarding in Game Week 9 anyway, we can probably either decide to ditch more of them or just keep the ones we want anyway. So I don't think it's a good time to be bringing in Liverpool attackers either. So Klopp did mention that Darwin Nunez is back from from suspension, and a few people are looking at him as a differential. And I guess as someone that a lot of people don't own, he's not necessarily a bad pick for the next few weeks if you want a short-term punt. But for a lot of people, it's going to be difficult to get up to a player that's nearly 9 million up front. Firmino's obviously fit and playing well at the moment as well, so it's not even guaranteed that he plays the next 3 games. For what it's worth, I'm sure he will get good minutes. They do look more dangerous with him in the side, but there is Champions League and stuff coming up as well. So I think the opportunity to buy Nunez has been missed now. We should have got him earlier on the season. We didn't. Then he got red carded, so we couldn't get him in. Now they've got, okay, Everton away is okay. Wolves at home is good as well. Then it's Chelsea away. Then it's wildcard time. You know, European games. Jota's coming back. Firmino's fit as well. There is going to be less minutes for Nunez going forward. I do want to reiterate, I think the front 3 first choice is Diaz, Nunez, Salah. They will get lots of minutes, but those minutes are going to be reduced when everyone is fit. So I just don't think he's a worthwhile punt right now, unless you really want to go for it for the short term, in which case, good luck to you. The other thing is Jordan Henderson. As much as I don't think he's necessarily going to be a huge miss from Liverpool, it's not ideal to have another injured player in that midfield. So that's not necessarily going to help them. They have signed, I hope it's pronounced Arthur Melo as it's written, from Juventus. So that should help. But I don't think Klopp's ideal situation was to have to put a new loan player straight into the side, especially with Thiago out as well. So that is just one of the things that worries me when we go back to that Salah captaincy, is all those issues they got in midfield. The defence looks pretty good with Trent and Robertson obviously still there. The front 3 with one of Firmino or Nunez plus Salah and Diaz is decent as well. It's just in the middle of the park that I worry about a little bit. But that's the press conference updates we got. Henderson's out. They don't know the extent yet, but it looks like he's going to miss like 3 to 5 games at least. Nunez back from suspension and Jota's back, but I don't think he's going to be an issue by the time we end up getting rid of our Liverpool players anyway, or at least some of them. So just a few updates from Chelsea for me to give my thoughts on. The first is obviously they've signed Aubameyang. He's not ready yet to start training. It looks like he needs a mask fitted for a jaw injury. Tuchel says that he hopes he can join in training from next week. He's coming at 9 million, right? So straight away he's $1 million more than Jesus. And I think FPL have got it difficult now. They can't keep underpricing players, but I look at that price difference and just don't think I'm going to go there anytime soon. He's not even training yet. We don't know if he'll be nailed on. There could be some rotation between him. Maybe Broja might get some minutes at times. I don't think that's that likely. I'm not sure Tuchel fully trusts him to play in week out at the moment anyway, but it could happen at some point. And I don't think that Havertz is just going to be completely out the side either. So we don't know if Aubameyang is going to be nailed on. It's also worth noting that yes, he's been great, you know, over his career. Yes, he did really well at Dortmund under Tuchel before, but that was a long time ago. When he left Arsenal, he wasn't really performing at his best. Maybe that was part of just everything that was going on at the club between him and Arteta, but I'm not sure I'm in a rush to spend 9 million on a Chelsea forward, bearing in mind what Chelsea forwards have done over recent seasons. So he could be good, and I'm definitely keeping an open mind, but right now I've just got no interest in him whatsoever. And I'm even looking ahead to wildcard. Everyone's going to have Haaland, everyone's going to have Mitrovic. There's only one more slot. And is Aubameyang going to be better than an £8 million midfielder or spreading that money around defence and stuff like that? I would say probably not, but let's wait and see when he actually starts playing matches, how many minutes he gets, and all that kind of stuff. And then the bigger news, really, from an FPL point of view, Reece James and Ruben Loftus-Cheek are available. I'd be very surprised if Reece James doesn't start. He only missed the training in the last game as kind of a precaution because of injury. He has been back in training this week, so he's available for the weekend. I expect him to start. And the key thing is, he's probably going to play right wing back because I'm expecting Fofana to go straight into the side. And Reece James is a right wing back when you don't own him is just scary. So for anyone that is considering him, bringing him here, and I don't think it needs to be done for a hit, but if you can do it for a free transfer and you're keen, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. And by the way, stop selling him. Loads of people are selling him. It was already over 300,000 earlier on the week. He continues to be sold. He's not flagged anymore. He's probably going to play. He's a great option. I'm going to regret not having him. Stop selling him. So with the Arsenal updates, this is why I like following Fantasy Football Scout, because the quotes are almost always completely accurate. The first tweet that I saw about Ramsdale today basically said that he was back and available for the Man United game, whereas according to Scout, what Mikel Arteta actually said was Aaron Ramsdale and Martin Odegaard would hopefully be available for game week 6, but both will be assessed tomorrow. So they're not guarantees. For what it's worth, I'm not sure Arteta would have said they're fully fit anyway, right? He's playing Man United. Maybe there's a few mind games going on there. I don't know for sure either. I've got no information about this. The game is not until kind of Sunday late afternoon either. So we're probably not going to get any further updates before the deadline about Aaron Ramsdale. I know a few people have asked me whether they should sell him. You could do, right? I think you could go for someone like Sanchez, who's got pretty good fixtures over the next 3 before the wild card. Obviously, Arsenal are playing Man United away this week anyway. I'm not expecting a clean sheet for Arsenal. That's why I'm benching Gabriel. But game week 7 and 8 are okay. I think for most people, if you've got another move that you want to make, a goalkeeper move is not that interesting. And if you've got Ward on the bench, I know he's not great. I know he's probably going to concede again. He's playing Brighton away. You're not going to want to play him too many times this season. But I think it's just worth keeping hold of Ramsdale, using that transfer on something else, or maybe rolling instead. If he doesn't play, he probably wasn't going to get a clean sheet anyway, at least in my opinion. So neither is Danny Ward. So you're not really down on points, that is. And I just wouldn't spend a -4 to fix it. So if you already made a move and then you're thinking about a -4, I just don't think I would go there. And then, look, given the fact that he will hopefully be back for game week 6, means he should be back for 7 and 8. And at that point, if you're wildcard in any way, happy days. If you're not wildcard and you've already used it, maybe you make that move for a slightly longer term keeper like Pope. Could be an option, because Newcastle's fixtures are pretty good for a little while now. But for most people, I just wouldn't sell him. The other update was Zinchenko remains a big doubt. So I think at this point, again, it's all going to depend on how many transfers you got, other moves you need to make. But if you're in a position where there's nothing else to do, I think Zinchenko can be sold. Again, Reece James is obviously a really good option if you can afford it. Trippier, Dunk, Estupiñán and stuff from Brighton all look really good as well. That's who I'd be looking at. If he's a doubt for this game, there's no guarantee he's back for 7. I think it's a little bit different than the Ramsdale situation. So I'd probably just get rid of him at this point if I could. There we go. That's my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 6 deadline. If you enjoyed that video and found it useful, you know what to do. Make sure to give the video a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here as well. Don't forget to check out Fantasy Football Scout and sign up to become a premium member. There is a link in the description below. I will, of course, be back for the deadline stream tomorrow. It will be starting at latest, I would say, 10 o'clock UK time, so an hour before the deadline, but I will definitely try and get it set up earlier than that. I don't think there's going to be too much last-minute panic outside of captaincy. I am very undecided between Salah and Haaland. I was on Salah, it's now on Haaland. That might switch back again. I don't think I'm going to make too many transfers tomorrow. The only one that I'm slightly considering, this is the team as it stands right now with that Haaland captaincy, is Cancelo to Reece James, because I am worried about not having Reece James. I should have left myself open with a different option to bring him back in this week, and I haven't done that. And I just think Reece James at home, even to West Ham, might be slightly better than Cancelo away. I guess the main worry is Cancelo was a lot more attacking in the last game, but surely some of that was because it was Nottingham Forest at home, right? And they had so much of the ball. So I'm not completely ruling out that move, but I do think it's more likely that I switch my captaincy to Salah than it is that I bring Reece James in. But either way, I'll leave that video there. I'll see you tomorrow for the deadline stream. Thank you for watching. Give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.